Hey, what's up everyone? SilverContrail here. Today's another article aftermath video, but we're not going to talk about last week's article because I got a whole 2 comments on it, and there's not really anything to discuss other than if you are a Dragonity Ruler player and you're not playing DD Crow, you should definitely consider it if you haven't already. Just that's the one takeaway you should have from that article is that DD Crow is really, really good. But otherwise, whatever. Maxi's still good. Valor's a card. Stuff like that. Valor's a card. I hate that expression too, but I just used it. Anyways, today we're going to be talking a little bit about the new Shinra, if that's how you pronounce it. I hope it is, because I'm going to be saying that. Shinra archetype coming out in Legacy of the Valiant. Now, if you know anything about me, in terms of Yu-Gi-Oh, it's probably one of two things. One, that I play Dragonity pretty much nonstop. And two, that I absolutely love plants. I've played plants as my first deck when I got back into the game. I bought a playset of Lone Fires, a playset of Gigaplants, a playset of Swing of Memories, and then I think even Blazewing Butterflies. And then I waited until Crossroads of Chaos, and then I had a lot of cool stuff, and I was having fun. I played a lot of plants for a long time. I would say pretty much until I jumped to Lightstorn for a while. I was playing plants as my main deck. I played, Crossroads of Chaos / Raging Battle, weird plant builds, Black Garden builds, and then I played Debris Princess, the true predecessor to Plant Synchro, and then I played Gigavise, and then I tried to play Quick Draw for a bit, didn't really like it, and then I tried to play a bunch of other things, didn't really like them either. Whatever. I kind of got away from it when Plant Synchro became big because it wasn't really the deck that I wanted to play. It was a synchro-centric deck. I wanted to play plants, and it wasn't really an option for me at the time. So, with this plant archetype being really one of the first all-plant archetypes, is really interesting, and it's definitely an interesting archetype, and it's got a lot going for it, but it could definitely be made or broken by just a couple of different things. So. It is on DevPro now, and I just realized this, so I wanted to make a video on it. So let's talk about these guys real quick. Just kind of go through them real quick. First of all, actually, let's start maybe the pack. With Shinra Pea Keeper? Is that what they're calling it? They just call it Peas. Okay, anyways, the Peas. When it's normal or special summoned, you can reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a plant-type monster, send it to the graveyard. Otherwise, place it on the bottom of your deck. So this is pretty standard amongst most of these Shinra monsters, is that they'll reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a plant, it goes to the graveyard. If not, it goes to the bottom. Or some other way of revealing cards off the top of your deck. And if they're plants, they go to your graveyard. And so the second half of its effect is, if this card is revealed from the deck and sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target one level 4 or lower plant-type monster in your graveyard, special summon that target. You can only use P's effect once per turn. That specific effect. So note, that you can summon P's, use this effect, reveal another P's, and then summon a monster with that. So basically, the other half of these guys' effects is if they are revealed, they get some effect. So they reveal cards off the top of the deck, and if they're revealed and go to the graveyard, they have some effect that activates. In the case of Peas here, it's going to be special summoning a level 4 or lower monster, and that's really good because clearly you could summon, I guess itself. Yeah, you could just summon itself back. If you wanted to, if that was the only target, so presumably you will get something off of it. It's a +1, but it acts kind of like a wolf. And the cool thing is, if you do reveal it, and you've got a Lone Fire in your graveyard, well then you've got all kinds of fun stuff to go after. Definitely good for Lone Fire abuse. The key to remember here, this is different from milling. This is not sending from the top of the deck to the graveyard. This is revealing and then sending to the graveyard, and that's different. I believe that this is the same text that Magical Merchant has. Magical Merchant. Pick up cards from the top of your deck. Yeah, I believe so. And that other card. Reasoning, I think? Pick up cards, yeah. I think if it says pick up cards, then that's considered revealing. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, so P's immediately is pretty interesting, but it only reveals one card, and that's kind of lame. It's going to be normal summon, and it's only got 400 attack and 100 defense, and it's level 1 by itself. Doesn't really do a whole lot. Now, if you do mill, if you mill one of its, like a copy of itself, and then you've got a Spore, and you can bring that back and make formula, that's pretty neat. The next one is called Shinra Stool. Stool. Okay, he's a stool. He's a mushroom. He's the mushroom. This guy's a peas. This guy's a mushroom. Or the stool. Whichever you want to call him. I'm not going to pronounce his whole name because that's bullcrap. And it'll probably change anyways before the English translation, so I don't know why I'd get used to it. When this card is flipped face up, you can reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, and if there are any plant-type monsters among them, send it to the graveyard. So immediately, his effect has a lot more range. He's got 2,000 defense, 100 attack, and level 2 fire. So he's definitely a different card in terms of how much he's performing. Maybe a higher utility card. More likely that he's going to reveal something that's going to actually activate an effect. And again, any other cards will go to the bottom of the deck in any order. So that's cool too, that you get to kind of put cards at the bottom of your deck and you know what order they're going to be in. So if you're not searching and shuffling your deck, hint, you probably will be, then you get to get at the bottom of your deck and, hey, you know what all your cards are. But that's more of a Vanguard tactic than a Yu-Gi-Oh tactic, and I doubt that's going to happen too often. Now, when he's revealed and sent to the graveyard, you can target one spell or trap card in the field to destroy that target. Boom! That's huge! Automatically, we have on-theme spell and trap removal, and that's such a good thing, especially since it's tied to a monster that reveals like 5. That's crazy. This is exactly what any archetype needs, is really solid removal. And we're not done yet. The next guy, Leaflow. Shinra Leaflow. He's level 3, 1500 attack, 1200 defense, water. Kind of reminds me of like Gunka or Lord Poison. They're also water plants. This guy, when he's normal summoned, you can reveal the top 2. And again, if they're plants, go to the graveyard. If they're anything else, bottom of the deck in any order. If this card is revealed from the deck and sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target one monster on the field, destroy that target. Boom! Now we've got 2 ways of destroying cards in the field, and everything is suddenly accessible. This is your, your bear, or well, I guess your bear and your gorilla. This is your heavy infantry and your marksman. This is, combination of what Blaster and Dracosac does. Having removal accessible within the deck without going to other sources is such a huge thing, and I mention this time and time again in my articles. Like, this is what makes archetypes really freaking good, and it's right here. It's it's free too, and that's the thing. Like, these effects are going to go off, and they're going to be straight +1s for you, and that's great. Leaflow, of course, revealing 2, not too great. 1500 attack isn't really doing a whole lot for you. But he does destroy monsters, so that's pretty cool. And also, he's adorable. Look at that. Look at his little body, his little head. But yeah, 1500 attack is kind of lame. I guess you could maybe pull something off with that. You could Infernal Reckless summon him. I don't know. Yeah, you could get him with Mother Grizzly. Let's talk about Shinra Nightkiss. That's probably a plant too, and I have no idea what it is, so I apologize for not being able to pronounce this. This is the Knight. So this guy, when he's normal summon, you reveal the top card of your deck. So he's got the same reveal 1 as Peas, which is kind of lame. 1800 attack really isn't that exciting. And if he's revealed, you can choose one Shinra card. Shinra? Is it Shinra or Shinra? Card from the top of your deck and place it on your deck. So, he's revealed, and you get to put one of these guys on top of your deck, which is pretty handy if you've got another revealer ready to go. The problem being, of course, yeah, he's not really that good to normal summon. Like the rest of these cards, like the ones that we've talked about that are normal summonable right now seems to be Stool because he reveals 5. So immediately he's pretty interesting. The other guys not so much. I don't really want to normal summon on any of them. Knight feels a lot like Abyss Spike, I guess. Like you don't really want to normal summon him, but you kind of, you might have to. But his effect is better, of course, if he's revealed. I mean, all these guys' effects are better if they're revealed. But being able to put stuff on top of the deck, that's not too bad. Next we have the level 6 Shinra Tree Fender Orc. Oh, it's a play on Oak and Orc. Oh, okay. So this guy, he's got 2400 attack for level 6. That's meh, but whatever. Once per turn, you can reveal the top 3 cards of your deck in any order if there is a plant type monster. You can reveal the top 3 cards of your deck if there are any plant types in the graveyard. So he's a reveal 3, and puts the rest at the bottom. If this card is revealed, you can target 1 plant type monster in your graveyard. Place that target on top of the deck. So he's got a bigger reveal, but he's a 1 tribute, and outside of Lonefire or Gigaplant, I guess, I'm not sure how you're getting him out. I guess you could get him out with Miracle Fertilizer. And then you get to place 1 on top of the deck if he's revealed from the graveyard. So he's kind of cool in the fact that he does recycle. Orc, he recycles your cards. You've got 2 ways right here to put cards on top of the deck. 1 from the deck, one from the graveyard, which is kind of nice. Maybe as a late game option. But again, he does require being revealed, and he can't target himself. That's the key too. He cannot target himself. He says 1 other, so there's no infinitely putting him back on the deck. I'm not sure that you'd want to, but if you could, maybe you could make some kind of play with that. I don't know. He's not that exciting. Maybe if certain builds are more mill heavy, like a merchant build, might want to use this, but it's a terrible dead draw. You're probably not going to be tribute summoning it anytime soon, even with plants being all the tribute fodder that they are. Yeah. I guess the other good thing too about him is that he does let you draw into something too, which is kind of nice. If you've got, like, you mill a Lone Fire and then you want that Lone Fire, you could always put it on top of the deck so you draw next turn. I guess. And then lastly, we have Spirit Tree Regia. 2700 attack for level 8. Not exciting at all, but he doesn't have any summoning conditions, so he is summonable straight up by Lone Fire, so that's kind of nice. And he reveals the top card of the deck, and if it's a plant type monster, send to the graveyard, and you draw 1 card. Okay, pretty nice. Otherwise, he places it at the bottom of the deck. So he's got the same reveal effect as we've seen with the Knight, with the Peas, but if it's a plant, you additionally will get to draw a card. So that's pretty cool. If the revealed card, or if this card is revealed from the deck, you can look at up to 3 cards on the top of your deck and return it to the top of the deck in any order. So that's pretty cool. That's like a big eye, not the Exceeds monster effect, and yeah, that's pretty neat. Lets you kind of. It's kind of a not a bad monster to just kind of sit on and draw cards off of, but it doesn't really have any defense. It's not particularly strong. Stuff like Crimson Blader gets over it. We don't know how relevant that's going to be in January, but assuming it is, it's not exceptionally strong. But again, he's got no summoning conditions on him, so it's pretty easy to just do whatever. Revealing the top 3, or looking at the top 3 of your deck and then putting them back, that's pretty powerful. It definitely can get you that clutch draw that you need to make plays on your next turn. And it's sort of like having a Pot of Duality always in your pocket. But otherwise, yeah, looking at this archetype, there's a lot going for it in terms of having on-theme removal, which is really cool, in terms of having a pretty solid way of at least revealing a big part of your deck. Revealing at least 1/8 of your deck, and it's probably going to be more than that after your opening hand. But at the same time, a lot of these guys are pretty lackluster, and using them in combination with each other is going to be pretty important if you want to use them to their full potential. And also, using other plants is going to be pretty important to yeah, make these guys work. There's 3 more cards though in this archetype, and we'll talk about the Sacred Shinra Peak. So this is a little mountain. It's got pretty nice art. I like it. I'd like to see it as maybe a super, or maybe not. I don't know if it would kind of ruin the card art. I don't know. So you can send 1 plant type monster you control from your hand to the graveyard. Choose 1 Shinra monster in your deck and place it on top of your deck. And you can only use this effect once per turn. So you discard any plant, maybe a dandelion, get some tokens, maybe a spore, or maybe one of these level 6 or level 8 guys that's too freaking huge and you can't summon them. And then you place a Shinra on top of your deck. So then immediately that's like the Knight's effect, but tied to a field spell instead. Oop, there we go. And once per turn during your opponent's end phase, you can reveal the top card of your deck. If the revealed card is a plant type monster, send it to the graveyard, otherwise place it at the bottom of your deck. So additionally, Peak has an effect where you can actually reveal one of your cards at your opponent's end phase. So this is kind of interesting, the combination of the 2 effects. Obviously, activating this card, you discard your plant, you stack on top of the deck one of the cards that you want, whichever one you want to activate, and then you go ahead and you summon any of these guys, use their effect, and you instantly get that Shinra effect that you stacked on top of the deck. So that right away seems pretty solid. You know, as far as that goes, the discarding the plant type monster is compensated for by the fact that you're going to get either a free summon, a free monster removal, a free spell removal, stuff like that. And the other thing is, clearly it's got that reveal at the opponent's end phase. Something you can pull off with this, which is one of the first things I thought of when I looked at this card, is if you say stack a Leaf Flow, but you don't have any way to reveal for it, just keep it on top of the deck, and then at your opponent's end phase, if you've got this thing still up somehow, magically, then at the end phase you reveal it and you pop their monster during their end phase, or you can use this guy, pop their spell during the end phase. That's pretty cool. But otherwise, yeah. Like, this I feel is necessary. I feel that this is almost Dragon Ravine level for this deck, that you need this field spell, because you need to be able to set up that play once per turn. Even if you're dropping cards from your hand, which means we're going to need really good discard targets too. But there's a lot of things we can discard in this deck that aren't going to hurt us, so not too bad. Shinra's Blessing. I like this card, actually. Trap card. Return 1 card from your hand, or either the top or the bottom of the deck. Return 1 card from your hand to either the top or the bottom of the deck. Then special summon 1 Shinra monster from your hand or graveyard. So that's pretty cool. So, returning 1 card from your hand to the top or the bottom. So we're given an option. That's pretty nice. And then we get to special summon the Shinra monster for the graveyard, which is, again, pretty nice because there's no restrictions. We can get out our level 8 guy, the level 6 guy. And, yeah, and also being able to put a card on top of the deck means you can put something, a Shinra monster on top of the deck, special summon the Shinra monster, use its effect, reveal the top card, and then go from there, activating that monster's effect. The second line is, it is unaffected by card effects. During the end phase, return that card to the top or bottom of the deck. So not only do you get your Shinra monster back, but it's basically invincible in terms of not having battle, but it is going either back to the top or the bottom of the deck during the end phase, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because you can put it back on the top of the deck. Again, put it on top of the deck, hey, now it's accessible by all your effects, including your end phase Shinra Peak. So there's a lot of reasons that this card is cool. It's sort of like a better version of Call the Haunted, but it does only target the Shinra monsters. If you're running a lot of other plants, it might be better to just use Call the Haunted anyways. But I like it. I think it's pretty cool. And lastly, we have Shinra High Protector. High Protector. How do they say it on here? They've got it written as Alcy. I don't know. The big goat dude. He's a big goat. I like to think of him as Go-Goat, because that's pretty much what it looks like. So he's level 8 he's rank 8, requires 2 level 8 monsters, 2300 attack, 3200 defense, plant light. So once per turn, you can declare one card name, reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's a declared card, add it to your hand. Otherwise, send that card to the graveyard. If a card is sent from your deck to the graveyard by this card's effect, you can detach one Xyz material from this card and target one card on the field. Place that card on the top or the bottom of the deck. You can only use this effect of Shinra, Giant Go-Goat, once per turn. Okay, so, two things. First of all, this card is really good in things that make any rank 8s. Let me explain why. Basically, that if a card is sent from your deck to the graveyard by a card effect, note that this is not just talking about his effect, it's talking about any effect. You can detach one Xyz material from this card, target one monster on the field, and return that card to the top or the bottom of the deck. So it's basically a giant phoenix wing on legs, potentially putting cards on the bottom of the deck too, in case you want to get rid of something and you don't want your opponent to draw it next turn. That's pretty important. This thing is amazing. Just amazing. Amazing. And it works great with this deck, and it works great with even Dragon Rulers, which if they're around after January, they're definitely going to want this guy, so I would recommend, hunting these down. As far as it goes in this deck, that's a tough one, because not often are you going to want to consolidate your trees or your flower princesses, which are generally the level 8 plants that you're going to want to use into something like this. I mean, this is really good. These guys are really good too, like stuff like Titanial, negate targeting effects no matter where they're occurring, and that's a big thing. But definitely, this guy is a good option. He's a good out to things. He's a really powerful defensive card. 2300 attack kind of hurts his playability, but 32,000 defense, that's big. I mean, there's not a whole lot getting over that. Worst case scenario is they like big eye you or something. But with Peak, with Peak, the key to remember, of course, is, with his effect, you can potentially activate it during the end phase if they let it sit there. End phase, you send a card off of Peak's effect, and then, hey, this guy triggers again, knock out another one of their cards, and if you set this up the previous turn, they're going to lose 2 cards. So that's pretty cool. And then, he's good clearly because if you can declare the card name, you do get to add it to your hand. So that's something important, and you can certainly go ahead and do that if you need to add something to your hand. Maybe you want to add a Stool to your hand. I don't know if that's something you necessarily want to do. Something I didn't mention, and I want to re-mention that because I just thought about it, is that Knight can add Shinra cards. So this is important because he can add actually the field spell or the trap. So he's got a little bit more playability than I gave him at first. So actually that might be an important card to run. Otherwise I was thinking about not running it at all. But yeah, basically you've got this big boss monster in the deck. You've already got stuff like Titanial potentially in the deck. And there's a lot of options out there. As far as what I think this deck's going to do, it depends. It feels like Mermails. Initially, I'm going to have to do a lot of testing, and I feel like it's a weaker version of Mermail because it doesn't have a Megalo, and that's a problem. The deck needs a Megalo, and it just doesn't have it. If it had something like that, then it would be amazing, but it doesn't really seem to have that. It doesn't really have an Abyss Spear. It doesn't really have the abusive card that is Atlantean Marksman, or not Marksman, but Dragoons. And without those, it doesn't have nearly as much searching power, despite almost wanting it. But you don't really want to, I guess, add cards from your deck to your hand, except for maybe your field spell and your trap. So I can see how that would be important. It's really vulnerable to a lot of things, anything that's influencing the graveyard. But it's got the removal too, so that's pretty cool. Anyways, I'm looking forward to this deck. I'm definitely going to be playing it, whether it's good or not, and I'll be playing it online and hopefully writing about it down the road because I really do love plants, and there's so much cool stuff to do here. So many plant support cards. Think of Polynosis, Miracle Fertilizer, Super Solar Nutrient. All those cards are playable in here, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Um, yeah, that's all I have for today, so thank you for watching. Let me know what you think of this archetype, if you've got any opinions on it. And I will see you guys next time. This week's video is on Ghost Tricks. 3 Spooky 5U.